Welcome to Confessions of a Wedding Band, brought to you by all of us here at the Martini Shot. This is a podcast where we document our shenanigans, both on and off stage, and we discuss our originals. We are a band out of Southern Colorado where we have 20 plus years of fun stories that we'd like to remember. Our first idea was to write a book. Problem with that, we've never written anything outside of a Facebook post, or for those of you that are old enough out there, a MySpace post. Thus, Confessions of a Wedding Band was born. Shoot it around for some introductions. I'm Brian. I'm the host of the show, and I play trumpet in the band.
I'm Steven. I played sax and now play guitar in the band.
I'm Andy, singer and guitar.
I'm Brooke. I play bass and sing.
Ryan, guitar.
Rob, saxophone and keys.
I'm Greg, and I play the drums.
So this next story happened a long time ago, and in fact, it happened the day after Brooke's firstborn. This is another story where we head up to Breckenridge, and we're going up to Breckenridge to play a private event or a wedding. Not quite sure, but we labeled this one Excelsior in Breckenridge.
That's messed up, man.
Excelsior.
So let's Brooke. I mean, your firstborn was born the night before, and I believe the day of Festival Fridays, or a little bit before that.
No.
So
Day of?
No.
Or the night before?
night before,
I drove
believe.
you home from Breckenridge.
Man, my wife is going to be sad that I can't remember, but I swear to God, it was like the day before, right?
I think it was the day before Festival Fridays.
So I'd already been through this long ordeal. God bless my wife, who obviously had a much longer ordeal, but we had like spent the entire day waiting for our son Zach to come, and finally it was a weekend. So basically he was like, yeah, we're gonna just induce you, and so anyway, long time that we waited to have our son finally show up on the earth, and then then I had to go play a weekend of gigs with my band, which is not the smartest thing to do. And we ended up going to Breckenridge, and right?
Yeah, so we play Festival Fridays. And,
and
super thankful to Ann for.
Thank God I have a family who could pick up some slack and take care of some things, but
Well, and thank goodness your wife knows what she married.
yeah, that too. But all in all, then we ended up going up for a gig up there and staying in the same condo in separate rooms.
Yeah. So the whole band was in one condo.
And the whole
different
time
rooms.
I'm thinking, I should not be here. I should totally, because there's something that happens. It's innate in every parent, where you're just I am not making the best life choices right now, and I should definitely be there and be protecting my child. Yeah. So, and I was working on zero sleep. Right?
Yep.
More than 48 hours you were awake.
Yeah.
Anna's still in the hospital.
So that's a good premise, right? So you guys elaborate from there.
I think that's a wrap.
So, where did the Excelsior come from? Because I remember all of us walking around behind you when you were in a robe with your long hair, trying to find the hot tub.
There was a
or
point
some
where
shit.
we were out on the street with towels.
Yeah.
like
So we got done with the show,
barefoot.
and was it a wedding or a private party? I can't.
It was a wedding.
I think it was a wedding.
Yeah.
So we got done with the show, and we went back to our condo. And so here's the problem: is they put us in a condo all together. And so all the conjuring was happening. Everybody was starting to talk. Everybody was starting to come up with fun ideas. We decided that we were going to go to the hot tub. We got to find the hot tub. We're going to find the hot tub. How are we going to find the hot tub? Well, before we find the hot tub, we need to get into our swimming suits and we need to get into our robes because there was robes all over the place.
But there was a tub in the condo.
Yep, but
Oh, yeah,
we'll
that
get
comes
to that.
later.
Jets.
We'll get to that.
No, that's what we settled on.
Yeah,
that's
that
what
is exactly what we settled on, and you'll hear about that shortly.
Okay.
So we got in our robes, and we thought we were hilarious, and
It's pretty good.
it was right about the same time as the episode of South Park that came out about Man Bear Pig. And Al Gore was, and if you travel to Denver in Casa Bonita, that is open right now, that is owned by Matt and Trey from South Park, Man Bear Pig is there, actually. So, side note, I got to see Man Bear Pig a couple weeks ago, so pretty funny. Anyway, so he talks about Man Bear Pig, and he's in this robe, and we were in robes, and he says, I don't remember the episode, but he says, Excelsior!
Yeah.
And so we were walking around the parking garage in flip-flops, the sandals that you have in the hotel, right? And we were in our robes, looking like complete idiots, looking for the hot tub. We got to where we thought the hot tub was. We couldn't get into the place because we were on the back side of it, and nobody would let us in. Do you remember that?
Well,
it was
that
like a
should
gym.
just say-
It was like a gym.
Yeah, it was a gym.
And then you went and sat behind the counter.
Yes.
And then we all like,
Henceforth, I think anybody who,
like you were the attendant.
any normal human being who was like fairly sober probably could have found it. Like,
yeah, probably.
That's what I think is the
But
funniest
instead,
part
we
about
found
it, right?
We found it, and they wouldn't let us in. There was nobody there, and I decided to go around the other side of the counter and pretend that I was the attendant. I was not able to let anybody in, but I was the attendant. We realized after a short while that we were. I sucked as the attendant, and we realized that we're not getting in. So we went to the streets of Breckenridge. And we walked around in our bathrobes saying Excelsior over and over again. Man, we thought we were funny.
We did think we were funny.
And what I was
You were,
sleeping
and so Brooke went to bed because,
because I'd had a very long weekend,
yes, including the birth of his
Life-changing.
son.
Life-changing events.
and
and
so
we
I'd
were all-
finally gone to sleep, and I was super happy.
And we thought we were so funny walking the streets of Breckenridge. Man, it was funny. Excelsior, we've got these stupid robes on. I think we should just go back to the room. We need a beer. So we went back to the room, took off our robes, put on our clothes,
Like
cracked
normal
open a
people.
beer or two, made the decision that since we couldn't get into the hot tub, what we could do is fill the jacuzzi tub in the condo with warm water, and we could stick our feet in it.
Like Huck Finn.
Yeah, we all rolled
like
up our
Tom
pants like
Sawyer.
Huck Finn.
Yeah. You dumbasses.
But
I
before we
swear.
did that, and while the tub was being filled, we needed Brooke to get up and have a shot with us.
That was a good idea.
I remember him just sleeping hard, and I knock on the door. Hey, Brooke, let's do a shot. And he fucking did it.
Yeah.
But he was pissed though.
He was pissed.
Yeah, he still did the shot, but he was
He
pissed.
like once he came to his senses, he's like fucking pissed. It's lucky we gave
like,
him
"What the
a shot.
fuck's wrong
or
with you
else
guys,
he might have
man?"
Punched us.
Well, so one, yes, I did do the shot. But I thought maybe I could go back to sleep. But y'all decided that it was in your best interest to go back to your little hot tub party.
We're laughing our asses off from being loud and
We're all
obnoxious.
sitting with our feet in the tub going,
You're laughing your ass off, and you're slamming yourselves around like this plastic jacuzzi tub, which is making like reverberated like sub noises like all through the entire condo. So yeah,
As many times as you've quit the band, I thought you were actually going to quit the band.
So I guess my passive aggressive aspect came out that night. Yeah, for sure. But I remember walking into it. I think Brian was sleeping like military, you know, like
Yeah, I was in
his, because they were in another room and I had to go through Brian's room.
or something.
Yeah, it was the tub was in like.
I had to
there's
go
a
through his
wall and
room
then
to
the
basically
tub,
like
yeah.
get to you dumbasses. And he's like in there out, like just like an awesome soldier, man. He just like, you know, like they told him to fall out and he just like rolled into a ditch and he just started sleeping like immediately, like on command. And I remember going past him and coming in there and you all were laughing like little kids and having the best time of your lives. You met the moon babies that night. You had so much fun. And I just peed in everybody's cornflakes, man. Like rough. And I remember after that, like going, oh my God, that was so like not cool. But I felt good. Because I could actually like go back, and I heard you guys snicker and laugh your asses off. After I left, you guys like you all sat there and took your fucking punishment, and then you just like sat there quiet, and then I left, and I just heard everybody go, like you were the coolest guys ever, like
With our feet in a jacuzzi tub.
And I remember when you guys left in the morning, I passed out behind the couch.
Yep.
Behind the couch. So I was sleeping there and I like hear you go, oh, you're pissed. And I was like, fuck.
And Robbie drew a dick on your face.
No.
Yeah, we did. It was on paper, and we threw it right on your face. Like we could have drawn a dick on your face because you were out.
I just put a dick by his face. I still can't tell my joke.
A paper dick.
I felt so bad. I was so hungover. I probably got like maybe 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
and I drove him home.
That's the other side of the story.
I don't.
Is that
and I don't even like.
I
to
woke
drive.
up at like the second the sun hit, man. I was like, I have to go home.
Yeah.
And Rob was cool enough to like say, yeah, man, let's get up and we'll go.
But in retrospect, it's crazy to know what you went through because you did that, right? You had a kid and went and played a gig. I had a kid. We played 2 gigs where I was in the hospital, went to play the gig, went back to the hospital. Then we went and played another gig, went back to the hospital. Yeah. That's crazy to me. It's crazy, but it shows you.
I remember that.
We were grinding. We were dedicated.
We were grinding. I remember it was the first night was a bar in Pueblo, and we played that. And I was on the phone trying to see how Brody was doing because he wasn't doing well. And the owner came up and she's like, "Get on stage." And I was like,
God.
"Fuck you! Yeah, this is my kid." Do you remember that?
Where was that?
That was at Zippers.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I bet it. Yeah, it makes sense.
So she was like, "You guys need to get on stage." I'm like, "I'm checking on my kid that was born like 10 hours ago."
Yeah.
That makes sense. Though.
I think that was the same night that they tried to get Brian because he ordered a
They gave him a
Pepsi and they gave him a rum and Coke
or something.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
You like secretly drank one.
He
Yeah.
drank a drink
That
and
was
he
rough.
that wasn't cool.
Yeah. So that was crazy. But
You would have thought he would have like dipped his finger in like a whole vial of liquid acid. LSD. No, we were waiting to see what the side effects were going to be.
Does this have alcohol in it? I was like, well, let me see.
No, you're right though, man. We have, and we sacrifice
a lot
of family, and we owe it to our families
for sure.
Yeah.
For allowing us to go out and do what we love as an art form. And I think we need to give it up for our immediate loved ones for sure, like our wives and all our significant others over the years who have put up with all the things that we've done and the sacrifices that we've made, in family time and births and things like that. So I just want to give a shout out to my wife, Anne, who I love, and she is definitely my soulmate, and I could not have done this without her. So
For sure.
and yeah, looking back, when it comes to the dedication that it takes.
Well, it goes
know?
back to what you were saying before. We've come from good families that support us to become musicians and successful in what we do, and always have been there for us. That we're lucky
Yeah.
because we're still together, and
Yep.
we've it doesn't happen to a lot of bands. Even at whatever level you're at. Whether you're super successful, professionally mega stars or something, or just the band at the local neighborhood bar.
Doesn't happen.
It's rare
Yeah.
that you can stay together this long for whatever reasons, but I think it's because we've all had good backgrounds and support, in a way, growing up together. And I remember going and watch Andy when I was just a kid, and he used to come in, sit in with the Big Cat Band and his sister, and all that stuff. And then, a Gerlach would play your CD on break.
He would.
Yeah. So no, it's like we've been blessed to have this community around us and be a part of it all.
And I think that it'll be a theme throughout these podcasts and this series, but we care about each other. We're brothers. We love each other. It's real. We're not faking any of this. We actually truly care about each other.
Attention to the masses, or release the ones I know. Don't miss your chance to witness, bask in the afterglow. It's gone before you know it, so you better study hard. Respect it, don't reject it, or you'll never get too far. Too far. So glad that you could make it. This shit can't be outdone. Take all that you can take it and see how it is done. Our love for an opinion, but it's considered fact around here. Reflect and then accept it and let it all come clear. A dream is never real unless you can't feel. What do you say? It's all the same. Same tune, new name. Not what but who. It's up to you. It's up to you.
You just heard a little bit of It's Up to You. And Steven, why is this your favorite song?
I don't know. I just remember hearing it, and I don't know. I've always liked songs that have like a minor chord progression, and I think, in my opinion, I think it's some of the best horn parts. I don't know. I just really like it. It seems like everyone kind of has their own part in this song that stands alone, and then it's the sum of all parts. I don't know. I just have always really liked this song.
I agree. At this time, when we wrote this song, there was like a huge live music, scene, right? So we were playing out like all the time, and we kind of had this synergy, between the band, like how the horns worked with our rocking ideas as a rhythm section. And I think that pulled together, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Like on this piece. And Andy and I were just laughing because I said, dude, didn't we just write this like as we were walking around in the grocery store at Allstate Choir in Fort Collins. Like I remember that.
I think we were just coming up with lyrics and coming up with premise ideas and everything. And I mean, Ryan came up with the
shell was
the
done.
shell of the song was all done.
Right.
Very typical. And then it was up to us to kind of come up with what it was going to be about. And I will always remember that we had some folks that wanted us to be
A reggae band.
They wanted us to be a reggae band, period. They like, you guys should just play reggae. Like, that's all you should do is reggae, which of course we have the reggae feel to the song. So it just worked perfect that we would talk about that.
But a newer form of reggae, right? Like more 311, more dirty heads.
And it all came about.
know,
So Andy and I
minor.
went to a show at the Green Light, and these particular individuals that just hounded us for, well, don't you know this band? Don't you know this band? You guys have to be reggae. And so we went to the show, and basically they just said, you know,
This is
in
what
a
you should
roundabout way, you guys suck. You should be like this band.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home and did the whole damn thing, wrote this whole thing that night and recorded it. And it was basically like a I Can Do It Too type of song.
Mm-hmm.
But
And it has a fantastic horn intro that is over the top, like it's very Spanish flavored, you know. And then when it comes to the choruses, they're very eighth note driven, very rock and roll, almost like I'm channeling a Rush kind of feel like in there. Do you feel that, like Greg, when you're playing that, you know, even though it doesn't sound like Rush, it's just, you know what I mean? Like it just has that like forward driven thing going on in there. And it's the dichotomy of rock and roll and this reggae ska thing injected into one song.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that appealed to me most about it was, I mean, premise aside, when I listened to it, or if, you know, I would tell people about the Martini Shot when I was younger, I would show them this song just because I felt it was very good representation of what the band sounded like and did.
Because it had everything.
It had everything. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And at that time when we were playing live, like the scene that was kind of like the quintessential sound of our band.
Because the tune does have it's two songs, right? It really is. I mean, you've got the reggae-ish, you know, 311-ish kind of verse and, you know, outside of like the Spanish feel at the very beginning of the tune and at the end of the tune. But then you've got that rockin' chorus that it almost like didn't fit, but then it did, you know? So you had, you know, I think everybody's always said, as far as our band, we can't fit into a niche. We just can't.
Right.
It's impossible. And we never have. We never will, but this is a good example of, you know, fitting into a couple different niches, which is what we are. It's
most importantly, every time we play that song, no matter how hard the minor riffs are in it and to keep it going, I always had a great time playing that song. Like it always felt fun to just throw that out at the audience, you know, because obviously they didn't know it from any other song. And yet I felt like it held its own. It was standalone, you know, like every night when we would play it for a crowd and we'd try to turn them on to something that we'd written, that one really stood out. And I always felt solid playing it.
And I think a big part of it standing out is really you took the bass for a walk. You really took it for a walk, and I know Ryan was talking earlier about how you were about ready to change that, and he refuses to let you do
Yeah,
that.
because it was too hard to play.
Yeah.
But that's a signature part of the tune is that bass line.
How funny though that I can remember grabbing like snacks for high school kids, and we're like walking around with a shopping cart, and we're in Fort Collins like Safeway or whatever, and like Andy and I are like
bouncing lyrics off each other.
bouncing lyrics off each other because we were so excited about that tune that we wanted, something, lyrically that would do it justice. And yet, board game money, I have to question.
You guys always hated that lyric. I think it's awesome.
I have to say, for like about the first 3 years, I told you, I thought you said Pokemon should make you believe. Which
They should.
I was like, what? But it's so cool. I was like, why? I don't know, but Pokemon should make you believe. And I was like, it's my favorite part. I don't know why Pokemon should make you believe, but I'm just happy here it comes. Pokemon should make you believe. It's like, okay.
And it makes it cooler if you whisper it, right?
Guess it doesn't really matter what you put in there.
Make you believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it took me a while to figure out what he was saying too, but I actually asked him, unlike you, and allowed Pokemon to be your like lyrical content.
Didn't we
I
talk
remember-
about
What's
that
the actual lyric now? Because I just got Pokemon.
Board
game.
money should make you believe. It's like Monopoly
Now I'm always
money.
going to say Pokemon.
So
should
the
make you
metaphor
believe.
for
And that's
fake
why
money,
we don't
like,
print our
You're
lyrics.
not. I think it's. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense now that we said it in a podcast.
I don't defend many
Somebody
of my
will
lyrics,
understand
but
it.
that one, that makes sense to me, in that it's fake money. This person is not going to offer you any true money. But I don't know. Whatever.
It's Monopoly money.
Monopoly money. It's and you couldn't. It just didn't work with the original lyric. Was Monopoly money should make you believe.
Yeah, and I think the original title was I Can Too.
Yeah.
And then you guys hooked it up when you were going, but yeah, it was called I Can Too.
Yeah.
Which led to
You're
I
right.
Can't Know.
It's just another podcast for Craig.
All right. Sorry.
So where do we track that?
In
That
Greg's.
was
In my
in the
in the
garage.
garage.
We played that. I remember feeling like really solid, like you played it like hard. I just remember, like you going
We
at
actually
it.
practiced and rehearsed at Rob's basement, I think, for that. That's when I was bringing those
just
drum
like-
pads.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and-
that's right. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, every time I used to practice with those drum pads, I couldn't wait to get behind the kit to try to see what it's going to sound like for real.
Yeah, I remember like when we finished the rhythm tracks, I was like, man, that's slamming. That's
Yeah.
gonna work,
Whenever we talk about this album, though, I like to get Steven's perspective because he was very young and not in the band, but he was involved with the record because he would come in
We
and
recorded
do
at the
auditions and like
Greg's
audition
garage,
things.
right? Didn't we do your?
Yeah, I did
Oh,
my
it's
all
his
state
auditions.
jazz auditions in Greg's garage.
So
Oh, shit.
Steven was in high school when we recorded this.
Well, I think it's important to talk about Greg's studio. For me personally, it's probably like the main reason I got into recording stuff, honestly. I remember I recorded an alto audition, a tenor audition, and a bari audition that year for All State Jazz. And so we recorded all of them. And then at the end, Greg did this where he dubbed them all together. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. I still have them on my computer. We should.
And here we are in your home studio.
Yeah,
making a
now we're
podcast.
sitting here in my living room with all my gear that I've bought. It's kind of cool.
See,
That's really
pay
cool.
it forward,
That is.
right? Pay it
And
forward.
I remember
man.
after doing that, I went home and I found my parents had one of those little beige desktop mics, for the computer. So I put it on my guitar amp and I recorded like The Trooper by Iron Maiden and did all the harmonies. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, it was like very inspiring when I was, I don't know, a sophomore, freshman in high school.
That's super cool.
That is cool.
And how lucky we are to have you, like, in our camaraderie, like to have a student become a colleague, to become a brother. I mean, it's
pretty cool.
That's gold, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild because around that time I was taking guitar lessons from Ryan. I'd been taking sax lessons from Rob, and then I got to go record with Greg, and yeah, it was a pretty formative time for me, for sure.
And you're still good.
Thanks, man.
Still.
I thought you were going to say you're still learning.
Despite.
In spite of us is what I meant.
But I remember being at the album release show for this at Festival Fridays, and
Oh yeah.
2007.
I can't, I couldn't tell you all of my thoughts, but I remember my first impression being like, whoa, this album rocks. It was a little more rock than the first one, and I really responded to that personally.
Well, and shoot, ever since you've been in the band, you've always kind of been a champion for this record.
Yeah, I love these are some of my favorite songs. I love this album. Let's play it.
Well, that does it for now for another episode of Confessions of a Wedding Band. Thank you so much for listening to our little experiment in documenting our stories. Check us out on all the socials. Just look for Martini Shot, and of course, check out our website, martinishotband.com. This podcast is produced by all of us here at the Martini Shot and audio engineered by our very own Tony Stark of sound, Stephen Falsetto. Keep supporting local music in your community, and don't forget about your waitstaff. Tip them and tip them well. We'll see you next time.
And I'm not sticking around. The wall has rotted, it's burning to the ground. Searching and searching, there's something to be found. The clock is ticking, and I'm not sticking around.